You cold?
A little bit. Looking relevant. Hey guys, so we're at Brighton Woolies, which is my local supermarket, and I'm here to do the weekly grocery shop. So first things first is a list. I never come shopping without a shopping list. I actually spend a bit of time before I go and do my grocery shopping actually planning out my meals for the week. Then all I do, just punch it into my phone, everything that I need, including weights and how much of it, so that way when I come to the grocery store I'm not wandering around aimlessly wondering what to get myself. So plan ahead, first tip. So what we're going to do, we're going to go around the supermarket. I'm going to show you some of my staples that I include in my diet, maybe show you a few macro hacks as well, how to save some sneaky calories on things. But yeah, let's do it. Okay, definitely getting some of these. We've got some fresh strawberries and I love blueberries. I think there's a big stigma around fruit, so that people feel that they need to cut out fruit from their diet because it's not good for fat loss. And that's absolutely not the case. Fruit is exceptionally high in all vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. I mean, berries in particular, blueberries, they're one of the world's healthiest foods, incredibly high in antioxidants. Bananas are great for energy, very high in potassium as well. So you certainly do not need to cut fruit from your diet if fat loss is your goal. But incorporating it intelligently into your diet is important as well, because at the end of the day it does contain calories just as everything else, but if you're factoring those calories into your total nutrition, then there's absolutely no reason for you to cut it out. Okay, leafy greens. So these are always a staple in my diet as well. I like to get the big bag mixes. I like variety. I talk a lot about variety in your diet and why that's so important. The reason is because you need to get a whole array of vitamins and minerals in your diet. As soon as you start limiting your food groups and limiting your food choices, you start becoming deficient in certain vitamins and minerals. And trust me, your health is going to suffer, your training is going to suffer, and the results from your training are not going to be as good either. So more efficient fat loss comes from a varied diet that's very high in nutrient-dense foods. So I like to incorporate things like your kale and spinach. Your dark leafy greens are incredibly high in vitamins and minerals, so we like to get lots of those. I also really love these little packs here. These are little stir-fry mixes. You'll see there's lots of colour. I always aim for lots of colour with my veggies, so that way I'm ensuring I'm getting a whole array of vitamins and minerals, and these little stir-fry packs are very handy. Just chuck them in a wok, whack in some spices, some sauces, and away you go. One of my favourites, avocados. So avocados are a great source of healthy fats. I like to have them in the mornings, have them on toast. You can cut them up and pop them into your salads. Be careful to not go overboard on avocados because they are quite calorie dense. They are a source of fat after all. Even though they are a healthy fat, they are very easy to overeat. And of course when you overeat, that's when you gain weight. So enjoy your avocados, but in moderation. Fresh herbs and spices. If anybody is new to a clean eating diet or just trying to incorporate more nutritious foods into their diet, lots of fresh herbs and spices are going to be your best friend because they are excellent for creating amazing flavours with your food. Of course, when you enjoy your food, you're more likely to stick to your diet. So some of the staples I like to incorporate are things like ginger, garlic. I love all those real Asian flavours, so ginger and garlic are always featured heavily in my stir fries. Hot chilies as well. little Italian herb mixes are great if you're making like pasta dishes and things. I use a mix of both the paste just simply for convenience, but if you've got the time during your meal prep, I recommend the fresh herbs. They're just a little bit more flavoursome, and you know, fresh is always best, higher in all your vitamins and things. So I'm going to get some coriander. I love Thai stir fries. So coriander, a little bit of mint, which I'll throw into salads. And then I'm going to jump over here and get us some ginger and garlic. Alright, before you all start groaning, broccoli. Broccoli is a staple in my diet as well, but it's not the only vegetable I eat, unlike many other bodybuilders, unfortunately. Broccoli, again, being the dark green colour, very, very high in minerals. Also a natural source of dim dolomethane, which is excellent for hormone regulation and estrogen detoxing. So I always like to incorporate plenty of these sorts of vegetables into my diet. Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. Again, variety is key. Alright, carbs, now we're talking. Sweet potatoes, definitely one of my favourite carb sources. Are they any healthier than regular potatoes? Not really. I think regular potatoes get a bit of a bad rap, you know, because they're a white food. People tend to steer clear of them. They feel like, you know, it's kind of like white rice. You know, if you eat them, you know, they'll make you fat. And that's not the case. In fact, the calories between a sweet potato and a regular potato are very, very similar. Different sort of sources of vitamins and minerals and things. I mean, your sweet potato being an orange food, very high in keratin, which is very good for your eyesight, vitamin A. I mean, I'll choose sweet potatoes just simply because I like the taste. I do incorporate regular potatoes as well, but I'm going to show you some other little potatoes, which are a sneaky little macro hack. And if you haven't come across these are little low-carb charisma potatoes. So they are lower in carbs, and they taste just like regular white potatoes. So I'll bake these up in the oven, sprinkle a bit of sea salt, you can put some nice herbs, you can even make them into chips, and have low-carb chips at home. So certainly when I'm in a fat loss phase and when macros start being decreased, I'll incorporate little things like this into my diet, because I'm all about volume and being able to eat as much food as possible without being hungry. Okay, let's talk protein. So I like to mix up my protein sources. At the moment, I'm actually really enjoying kangaroo. The reason being, it's a red meat, it's very, very high in iron, but it's also incredibly lean. Nothing wrong with beef. I actually quite enjoy an eye fillet steak. But if I'm looking for a red meat source that's lower in fat, kangaroo is an excellent source, and it's quite cheap as well. So I actually prefer the fillets, but the steaks are good. They come in burger patties, although they tend to contain some other added ingredients as well. But generally for my meal prep during the week, I'll use either the mince and make up like a bit of a savoury mince, or I'll use the fillets. Today, I'll get the fillets. And chicken breast. So when you're looking for chicken, I tend to opt for the breast fillets simply because they're leaner, skinless as well, so skinless boneless chicken breast fillets. And I'll usually either use these in stir fries, I'll grill them up, or I'll bake them. There's loads of different ways that you can cook chicken, so again, variety is key. Getting creative with your diet, that way it's more enjoyable and you're more likely to stick with it. So I'm just going to grab some of these. Alright, smoked salmon, an excellent excellent source of your omega-3 fats. Omega-3s are incredibly important for health and wellness. They not only look after your brain health, but they look after your joints. In fact, they're great for just about every bodily function and helping you function more efficiently. Unfortunately, many people are highly deficient in omega-3s. So looking to increase your intake of omega-3 fats is highly important. There aren't a lot of sources of omega-3s. Your best sources are going to be your cold water fish. So I like smoked salmon. Fresh salmon is great too. I like incorporating this on some toast in the morning with a bit of cottage cheese or cream cheese. Sambos and things as well, or even just on its own. But your best sources are always going to be your cold water fish and things like flaxseed and flaxseed oil, which we'll be getting a little bit later on. Okay, so we've got here some fat-free Greek yogurt. It's a plain variety, so there's no added sugar or flavours to this one. I love Greek yogurt simply because it's a high in protein, extremely low fat, very low sugar as well. What I'll actually do to flavour it up a little bit, I'll add a little bit of stevia and mix it in with some protein powder to bump the protein content, and it makes like a delicious protein custard. I never cut out dairy from my diet, whether I'm prepping for a show, whether I'm in off-season. The only time I would recommend cutting out dairy is if you actually have an intolerance to it. I think dairy gets a bad rap by the fat loss community, and I really don't understand why. Again, it's about eating a variety of whole foods, keeping your diet varied, and ensuring you're getting a little bit of everything. As soon as you start cutting out food groups, that's when you start running into troubles, not only nutritionally, but even for just long-term sustainability. Your diet needs to be sustainable, or you can't expect to be able to maintain your physique long-term. Cottage cheese is another favourite of mine. Again, very high protein. It's also very low fat and very low in sugar as well. I get a lot of questions, particularly from clients and followers that are looking for ways to boost their protein intake without going over on their carbs and fats, and incorporating foods like low-fat cottage cheese, like your fat-free Greek yogurts, protein powder. They're all excellent sources to bump your protein that aren't going to have too much of an impact on your fats and carbohydrates as well. So plenty of cottage cheese. Yes, I eat bread. English muffins, my personal favourite. Again, guys, there's no reason for you to cut out food groups unless you have an intolerance. I'm not gluten intolerant, I'm not wheat intolerant, so there is no reason for me whatsoever to have to cut out bread. Bread gets a bad rap because, again, it's one of those foods, it's easy to overeat. It is high in carbohydrates, which is a natural energy source. But if you're incorporating it intelligently into your diet, there's no reason that you can't successfully still lose body fat and eat bread at the same time. So I do it all the way through prep, and you can too. So guys, what I've got here are egg whites. Very conveniently packaged up in a little carton. So you don't need to separate the yolks anymore, gone are those days. But again, these are an excellent protein source, contain virtually zero carbs, zero fat. It's just pure protein. So again, if you're looking for a way to bump your protein intake without affecting your other macros, this is a great option. I often incorporate these into omelettes, but I also plenty of whole eggs as well. The yolks are incredibly high in very healthy fats, which have a whole raft of benefits as well. So I use a little bit of both. Egg whites just to bump up the protein factor, but then I'm making sure I'm having whole eggs as well for those healthy fats. Oats, another one of my favourite carb sources. have these just about every single morning. I'll actually mix them up with a little bit of protein powder, some fruit, might even put a dollop of peanut butter in there if you're lucky. Again, they're very low glycemic index, so it gives you that sustained energy throughout the day. One of my faves. And I just mixed it up with water as well. So guys, here I have flaxseed meal and flaxseed oil. So again, these are both excellent sources of omega-3s. We spoke about cold water fish. Well, this is another excellent source that I recommend incorporating into your diet. Now, flaxseed meal is it's actually very high in a very special kind of fibre, which not only works as a natural laxative, so it keeps everything moving, but it also helps to stabilise blood sugar levels as well. So I'll actually mix this into my oats in the morning. You can sprinkle it over cereal, you can add it to smoothies, plenty of different ways that you can incorporate flaxseed meal. Great in baking as well. And then flaxseed oil. Now this needs to be kept in the fridge. This is incredibly high in omega-3s. So I'll actually drizzle this over my veggies. I'll incorporate it into salad dressings and sprinkle it over my salads. Highly recommend incorporating these if you can. Pasta lovers, rejoice. Low carb pasta and noodles. So if you're looking to save some carbs, these are an excellent alternative. I'll use these in stir fries. I'll even use these as an alternative to spaghetti. It's basically cognac vegetable. Cognac is a Chinese water vegetable. It's got a slightly different texture to pasta, but tell you what, when you're desperate for noodles, but the carbs just aren't allowing it, then these are an excellent alternative. So a little macro hack that I use when I'm prepping for shows. So guys, this is nut beer, which is a natural sweetener, and I'll actually use this as a substitute for sugar. So I use it in baking, I'll sprinkle it over oats, I'll sprinkle it over cereal, use it in my yogurt. Excellent if you're a sweet tooth and looking for a healthier alternative. It's essentially a blend of stevia and erythritol. They're both very natural sweeteners derived from plants. But yeah, great alternative if you're a sweet tooth. I also incorporate plenty of frozen veggies. It's simply for convenience. Whether it's fresh or frozen, you're still getting the same health benefits. So simply for convenience and for making prep that little bit quicker, I'll incorporate frozen veg as well. So I've still got my fresh leafy greens and things that I'll have maybe at dinner, but for meals during the week where I just need to grab them out of the fridge, then frozen is the way to go. Frozen fruit. I do love a good smoothie, and frozen bananas are the best way to make your smoothie super rich and creamy without having to go to OTT on ice cream or dairy. And speaking of ice cream, because balance, my fave. It's a light vanilla ice cream, which I'll have for dessert most nights. So, because I use flexible dieting, I'm flexible in my food choices. So, I'll still leave a little bit of room at the end of the day to incorporate a little treat. Gives me something to look forward to and stops me feeling deprived. And my clients say the same thing. So, as you'll see what's in my trolley, the majority of it is very, very healthy. But I won't neglect food groups. I won't cut out treats. I'll keep them to a minimum. I still prioritise healthful foods, foods that are going to help keep me full and help keep me feeling well. But there's no reason that you have to demonise food groups or cut out your favourite foods altogether. It's just about working intelligently, incorporating them into your diet to suit your goals. I wouldn't be a fit chick if I didn't include peanut butter. So I'll have this as a snack during the week. I'll put it on my oats. But yeah, it's a staple. It's a fave. So there you have it, guys. There's a glimpse into the foods that I eat during the week and why I choose to eat them. If you've got any questions, feel free to shoot me a message on my Instagram or Facebook. I hope you found that informative, but I'd love to hear your feedback. See you next time.